going to do something a little different today, which I'm sure a lot of you are happy about. We're going to keep it a little shorter, a lot less of me, more of the screen. Like I said in the video we did where we were walking Chaya, I built a puppet out of the photos we took of the spider. And the reason I did that is the Puppet Warp in Adobe Photoshop, the version I have especially, works on layers. So you need a separate layer from the background to warp. And if you just have a single layer, when you warp it, you'll warp all the pixels in that layer. So for moving legs individually or the head individually or the pincers individually, it doesn't work very well. So what I did was I broke it up to each leg has a layer, the body has a layer, the head has a layer. All we're going to try to do today is some running, but I'm going to show you the screen more than myself. But before I do, real quick, probably an upcoming video, another helicopter I know. We're going to try something with this one that I read in an article a while back, like a long while back, where we're going to have people jump out of the door. So we're going to use the model helicopter, have people jump out of the door. One of the reasons we're doing this is we have a helicopter very much like this locally, that hopefully we can get some shots in front of. I have stock footage of a similar helicopter flying. So having a miniature of it that we can use for all the shots that we don't have stock footage of or that we can't get close enough to the actual thing to use, this little 1/60th scale model might help us fill that out. What movie am I going to use it for? I'm not exactly sure, but you can't have too many helicopters. And the stuff that I did in the last helicopter animation video has kind of inspired me to maybe try a giant ape short or feature, possibly, depending on how silly we're willing to go with it. But anyway, let's get to editing a photo stop motion puppet. Okay, so here we have our spider photo puppet with the background blacked out. Here we have it on the white background. On the side here, you'll see there are many, many layers. I believe we wound up with 11 altogether. And real quick, I'll turn some off. So you've got a layer for that leg, and a layer for that leg, and layer for the body, and somewhere on here's a layer for the head, layer for the head. Okay, and then we've got the back legs. I didn't go into as much detail with. I basically stole some legs, and where do we have a back leg here? That's like on the back of his body. Here we go. So some behind the body I just pasted in. So we'd have some, so we'd have all the legs of the spider. I honestly think that the reason I'm using it for this creature is because the legs I made too thick and they broke. But for a two-legged creature or something that you only have a solid a maquette instead of a movable puppet, a posable puppet, or something on two legs that'll fall over easily, this can be a really neat way to make it work. And you can see I've still got some blue haze here from the blue screen, so rather than have this white background and chroma key it on white, I'm going to go ahead and choose a kind of chroma key blue and go to the background, and oop, I'm on the wrong frame for that, so I need to go to the background frame and make that all blue. So now he's on a blue screen, and keying him later should be easier. Alright, so we're going to use an old cartoon trick and just move the legs forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards. I'll show you on a couple of layers here. So we'll choose the layer of a leg. We'll go to Edit. Puppet Warp. And you'll see it chose that leg that we're on. Then we're going to tack some points of movement. I'm going to use two simple points, make it easy, so it'll move on that joint there. There's another joint in here, but since it's not really 3D, we're not going to be able to manipulate that much. And we're just going to warp this forwards a tiny little bit. And that's it. And what we're going to do is this side will move forwards. So we'll choose the next layer. We're going to have to tell it to apply that. Choose the next layer. Puppet warp. Spaces. Forwards a tiny bit. Oh, it didn't let go. So, forwards a tiny bit. And apply it. And that'll be so on and so on. And then we'll save this as a frame. And just down here, we'll choose one of the back legs. Is that one of the back legs? I believe that's a front leg. No, it is a back leg. And we'll move that in the opposite direction. Okay. And then we'll save this as, frame 2. We'll just use a JPEG. We don't need the whole file for that. Spider run frame 2. And save it at high quality. It'll be so on and so on. And I'll be back in a few minutes after I've done a couple of these to show you how they work. Okay, so that was roughly a spider running across a background. One of the things you'll notice I could have done better is either use more frames or use more drastic frames. So the cartoon trick I was talking about is that when a character runs, okay, like our T-Rex here, right? You can move one leg forward, one leg back, have the center where they start, and then reverse them. Now, for a really good smooth run, you'd use many positions over 24 frames. But he's running. So really, this quick movement, if you take some of the older cartoons, even from the 90s, where cartoons were a little bit better than they were in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, there'd be much fewer frames. If you play them back frame by frame, which we were able to do with video, even when it was VHS, you'll notice that the movements are drastic between frames, especially when things are supposed to be moving quickly. It helps them to draw less, and it helps to create the feeling of speed. Stop motion things don't blur, which is something else you might want to add in post if you can. So each frame is a little bit more in focus than it would be if it was an actual person moving. So I didn't move drastic enough for using as few frames as I did. The other method I used, we only have 3 frames in there of that spider running. So what we did was we have his legs forwards, we have his legs middle, we have his legs back. So the front legs are going in one direction, the back legs in the other, then to the middle, and then the other way. And we use frames 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. And you can tell there's a little stutter at one point where I lost track. But cutting and pasting those frames is much quicker than having a separate new frame every time he moves a little bit. And then what we did, once we have him moving, his running, we took that footage. You could see I cut in there him moving in place on the computer screen, and we made it a moving video. So we used the motion function in Adobe Premiere to have the video itself float across the screen, and since he's moving within the video, it looks like he's running across the screen. And then we used the old Flintstones trick, where we had the background move in the opposite direction. Unlike the Flintstones, we didn't just keep repeating the same background over and over again. I mean, their house would have to be 18 of the same wall for them to run as far as they do. The other thing, like this puppet is fantastic for stop motion, this T-Rex. You can open his mouth, and he's got nice little lock points and everything. He's a great action figure for that sort of thing. I haven't been able to find this set anymore, so I'd give you the name. Otherwise, if I thought it, you'd be able to find it. But what I did see the other day in a toy store was puppets. See, they do have these very visible joints in them. I saw not puppets, but just basically rubber statues. And you can't animate those in the traditional stop motion sense, but what you can do is make a layer out of this leg, make a layer out of the piece of this leg that's showing, make a layer out of this arm, the tail if you like, and stop motion those things in Photoshop, in Photoshop, and make individual frames that way, and then put those frames into your video. So if you're not skilled at making a stop motion puppet, which I obviously am not, and I'm sure many people trying this for the first time won't be, this is a way to try it without actually having to go down into the workshop and build a wireframe or a ball and joint socket puppet. Once you're ready to learn how to do more complex puppets, I suggest a channel run by someone called Blue Worm, BLUWORM, and he does some fantastic stop motion work. Just watching his videos is fun, but he also has some tutorials on how to build your own stop motion puppets. And so once you're ready to move in that direction, which I want to try as soon as I get more pumpkins made and caught up on Jack vs. Lanterns, I really want to give that a shot because he's got some fantastic tutorials on making puppets. And then once you can make stop motion puppets, there's nothing you can't do. You can key them in and build miniature backgrounds and have giant monsters and miniature monsters, and I mean just anything you can think of and then build, you can have. So it's really, it's like CG, but before CG. And for those of us who don't have tons and tons of computing power, this is a way to get our creatures in there. And it also has a more old school and fantasy look to it. Like CG now, you feel very much like you're watching people battle video game monsters. Stop motion, you feel more like you're watching people fight their toys or creatures they might encounter in a dream. And so for fantasy stuff, it really works. For dragons, for knights, for dinosaurs, futuristic robots. I mean, for some things, I really prefer it. And I can't wait to give it a little bit more time to be able to do it more, to do it right. But for now, you get to see what I did. You get to see my mistakes. It's a very simplified thing with just the 3 frames in there. So it's something you can try out and expand upon. If you do it, send us some links, comment, let us see what you've done, share it with us. And if you enjoyed this, think you want to see more, if you want to see more of us going around with Chai, either way, please subscribe to the channel. And we'll have some skit stuff coming very, very soon. So we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for joining us. Subscribe at the bottom and share with your friends. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.